I'm John Ed Mathison, and I want to welcome you to this podcast, Go-Getters and Go-Givers. And let me tell you, you're in for a treat today, both to be challenged, to be informed, but also to learn today about a marvelous, marvelous ministry here in Montgomery, Alabama, and two people who are making a difference there. Let me introduce two of my fine friends here, and they're going to share with us Hallie Bridgers and also Jack Burt. Now, both of them just finished college and are now in graduate school. And let me just start with you, Hallie. Tell us where you maybe went to school and where you're going to school now. What are you majoring in?
Okay, so my name is Hallie Bridgers. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I went to Alabama State for my undergrad to get my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in social work, and now I attend Georgia State University getting my master's in social work. So I'm interning with the Urban Clinic of Atlanta in Georgia right now and getting my hours for school, and this has been my first semester, but it's went pretty well. So yes, that's me right now.
Super good. Yeah. And Jack?
Well, I spent 18 years here in Montgomery, graduated high school from Montgomery Catholic. I studied international studies and Russian at Rhodes College, which is a little bit of a departure from social work and psychology. And now I am also in my first semester of a master's degree in security policy studies at the University of George Washington in D.C.
Right. And where did you go to high school here?
I went to Montgomery Catholic.
Montgomery Catholic, and they have a pretty good sports program. I think haven't you been calling plays over the phone for the last 10 weeks? Because they've done very, very well.
I met with Coach Jay yesterday off their books, and I told him to run more of the wishbone and some more triple option. He didn't really want to hear it, though.
Didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and I know I want everybody to know this. Your great-great-great-granddad,
8 grades.
No, your granddad is a very good friend of mine, and tell us who he is.
Todd Strange.
Todd Strange, and he was mayor here for several terms and one of the great leaders in Montgomery. And so what we're doing today is both of these young people finished college. Neither one came from an underprivileged situation, but in order to do something, they're go-getters. I mean, they're achievers, but they wanted to be go-givers. And so last summer, you spent the whole summer working with one of my favorite all-time people, Ken Austin, who is one of my heroes, and he does more in the city of Montgomery in terms of helping the underprivileged and race relations and everything else. Anything he touches just becomes a ministry, and he has a very, very huge ministry. And so tell me, what did y'all do last summer?
So last summer wasn't my first summer. My first summer was the summer before last, but I heard about Pastor Ken through one of my line sisters. Her father used to own Common Ground, but later turned it over to Pastor Ken. And I told her I was looking for something that was in my field, which is social work, just to help out kids and just to give back to my community. So she turned me over to Pastor Ken, and I interned the first summer that he ever had the interns come to the MAP Youth Navigation Center, and it went pretty swell. It was a lot of ups and downs just because it was the first year, but we overcame everything we needed to overcome, and it was only 5 of us. So this past summer, I thought it was going to be same, like a little community of us interns, but it was actually about 13 interns this summer. So the population grew from last summer to this summer. But it was a great summer. We did a lot of things with the kids. We took them on field trips. We had a lot of academic learning opportunities for them as well. We took them to the Montgomery Library. We had different motivational speakers come in, different type of teachers, different politicians, and they just learned a lot from them and got a gauge on, what to look forward to and how to stay out of trouble and things like that. But usually with the summer program, they come in the morning and we sing our mantra, we pray, and then they have a little bit of playtime, and then they get the academic part of the summer camp. They go to class, they learn and things like that, and then After that, we sometimes take them on field trips, and then after that is the after-school program where we settle down, and then each one of us ride with them back to their home. So whether it's Give Village or somewhere on the south side of Montgomery, Alabama, we drive and pick them up every single day. So we had a great summer. It was very productive. So that was about it.
Great. And Jack, how did you get involved in this?
Well, like most of the people that graduated college in 2024, I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I was sitting at home in early May, and I was speaking with my family about things going on in the city. And my grandfather mentioned what they had going on over on Mobile Road. And on the first day of the program, me and my grandfather, we were just supposed to go see it because Todd's a really big fan, as am I, of everything Pastor Austin and the ministry does. So we went to go see it, and I think I'm wearing like a polo and some nice slacks, and I'm like hanging out with all these children. And Pastor Ken just looks at me and he goes, "All right, what do you think?" And I was like, it's a good thing you got going on here. And he was like, "You want to work here?" And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, "All right, go home and change and come back." So
So you were a little overdressed.
I was a little overdressed. Yeah. So I went home and I changed, and I was, started about 6 hours after everybody else had started. But I was there on the first day, jumped in feet first.
All right, now tell me about what age groups were y'all working with?
Particularly, this is K through 12. So each of us got assigned to a grade. I was assigned to third grade, so we would just stay with our class anywhere they went. If they went on a field trip or if they went to lunch, we would just stick with that particular group. And basically, if anybody did come in, like a bank or a motivational speaker, we would go to them to each event and things like that. We have a mixed group of kids, boys and girls, but it was just a lot of fun to just be in and dig in with them.
Right. And what age group did you work with?
I was with the second graders, so 6, 7, yeah.
Yeah, and so y'all really were mentoring, and did most of these kids, you're a male, you were probably one of the best male influences, some of them, had ever encountered. Would that be true?
I know that's the case for some, because it's a part of their lives, and it's something they're not afraid to talk about, even the really young ones. But it wasn't always so much being a positive male figure, especially with the young guys, but it was more so just being a positive figure in general, maybe even something more akin to a friend, because I think a big hurdle that I had to get over first being there was, even though I was born and raised just off of On Road, over in eastern Montgomery, and even though it's just a few miles, a lot of the times the other side of Montgomery can unfortunately seem like a different place to, I think, a lot of people that came from a similar background to me. And I think a big part of connecting with those kids was getting over that fact and kind of demonstrating that it doesn't matter where I came from or where you came from, that I'm just here to help you have fun, to keep you safe, to give you something to do this summer, to give back. And I think getting over that, finding genuine ways to connect that kind of transcend those differences was the big thing.
Yeah, and may I confess to you, when I first heard about your being over there, that was one of the thoughts I had, and I guess we do. You are investing your life in a culture that's only a few miles from where you grew up, but it's a million miles away as far as culture goes, and how you would relate in that, and how you would do it. And I just admired the fact that you would do that. Now, you spent about how many hours a day, Jack, working with those kids?
Ooh, I never quite did the math.
Well, y'all got paid by the hour, didn't you? I think it was 25 cents an hour.
No, a little less.
A little less than that. Yeah, I got you.
We
You did not do it for the money.
did not. We got there. The kids arrived at 8, so we got there a little bit earlier. I was usually in there about 7:45. The kids were usually supposed to be gone by 2:45. That never happened, so we were always there till about 3:30.
Yeah.
Now let me just ask a question. They stayed because they loved it so much.
Oh yeah.
Would you say that? I mean, they didn't stay. The reason they stayed, they weren't ready to go home.
Well, I wish that were true, but a lot of times, parents have busy schedules, and just always being there to get your kid at the right time is a little bit more difficult. But it was those kids that were always the last ones to leave. It was always the same kids, and I think for the most part, those were some of the kids that we all latched on to a little bit more and got to develop some closer relationships with.
And if you had to take away a couple of things, Hallie, that you learned in this experience. Now, you were the leader, but sometimes being the leader, the teacher, you learn more. What anything, and maybe Jack, in a minute you chime in with, what did y'all learn in this experience?
Well, I really just learned to don't ever take anything for granted, and a lot of times you don't know how much you can impact someone until they give you that feedback about how you impacted them. A lot of times just sitting down with the kids, asking them how was their day or are they okay, can make their day, because we don't know what they're coming from outside of the MAP Youth Navigation Center. So just sitting there, encouraging them, making sure they're okay, just doing those personal checks throughout the day to make sure they're okay. Also, just being an ear for them. A lot of kids don't half the time have someone that they can just pour out and just talk to. So just being able to let them just pour to us and to understand them, even if it's just bringing them a snack to the camp or taking them out after the camp, or just having that personal insight or what's going on with them.
Right. What would you say would be your best takeaway? I bet you learned some things that you didn't get taught at George Washington.
Yeah,
potentially, or at
definitely.
Yeah, or in college.
For me, the biggest thing that you realize immediately, and this is kind of in conjunction with some time I spent as a counselor at Camp Laney up in Mentone, Alabama, that every kid, no matter where they're from, no matter what their background is like, is the exact same. And when I say that, I mean that they all want to have fun, they all want to have friends, they all want to be cared for, and they want to feel like they have something, they have a future. And I realized that very, very quickly, because you go in and you think, what if these kids are completely different to who I was as a kid? And it's absolutely untrue. All the boys want to throw the football, all the girls want to get on the swings, and they want to dance. So yeah, I think that's the
down
biggest
deep
thing for me.
People are pretty much the same in the things that they need, the things that they want. And I think one of the problems in our society is that we categorize people. I'm guilty of that sometimes. And well, that person is that background or that race or that gender or whatever, so they must be. But everybody is unique.
Right.
And you all had an opportunity to work with them and to help develop their uniqueness. Do you realize you had the opportunity to work with one of God's very, very greatest people at doing that in Ken Austin?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know of anybody that doesn't in this city who does it any better, and how much he loves and how much he cares for people.
Yes.
So we all at the MAP Center?
Yes.
Right. And what else was going on there just besides what you all were doing? Now that's incredible. People may not know, but WSFA, that was their old headquarters, and they sold it to Ken, and I could have paid for it myself because of what they sold it for. Because I was just impressed with a secular radio, a TV station like WSFA
Right.
would invest that, but it's a huge building,
Yes.
and there are multiple things that Ken has got his finger in it that are doing that. I know they do training.
Yes.
The the college comes in and does a lot of training, do tutoring.
Yep. And then they have a portion for moms to help them, learn how to take care of their children certain type of ways, different resources for them as well. And then giving back to like the like homeless, they give out food, clothes, different things like that as well. And then it's like a safe space for the youth as well, because downstairs they have like a place where it's like a movie station. They have different games just for the youth to come. And it's open till like 10 p.m. I think, so they can come anytime between that time and just feel free to do what they would like.
Well, in my opinion, a person making the difference in the city of Montgomery is the MAP Center and with Ken Austin. Doesn't the Salvation Army, I think, brings people in there, and the numbers of meals that are served to folks in the community. I know Ken serves 500 meals a day.
Yes, the Mercy House. Yes, that's a great place. A lot of people, we've witnessed it. We've saw 30 to 40 people just come at one time, and they were just to see their faces, see how happy they were to get free food, really just made us happy.
And it was a great experience for you.
Yes.
What do you see 10 or 15 years from now will make a difference in your life, Jack, that having had this experience, does it, what would be the value mostly as you see yourself going forward?
I would say it's definitely the value of service. And I think a lot of the times people think about service and they immediately equate it with something that we did this summer or something that you or Pastor Austin does with their careers. And although that's a very worthy and noble pursuit that I encourage people to do, I think service can also be a lot easier, serving a purpose higher than yourself. And that, I think, can come through millions and millions of different types of career paths and just life journeys in general. But I'm pretty confident that whatever I end up doing, or whatever I seek out to do, service will be a part of that equation.
And Jesus said, if you want to try to save your life, look after yourself. You're gonna lose it. But if you're willing to lose your life in serving Him, you'll find life and find it. And probably the best paycheck you got is what you learned in that experience, not monetary, but in serving. And probably the best thing we can ever hear is for one day hear God say, "Well done." What did you gather from all of that, Hallie?
I agree with Jack, service as well. And just a lot of people looking from the outside in always ask, well, why do you go out your way to do this? Or you're there all day, spending these extra hours. Like, you need to get a job that's paying you this and that. But to me, money doesn't matter when I'm giving back to my community and doing something that I believe is God-given to me. Like, since I've been a little girl, I've always wanted to give back to the community, just help out, because I know how it feels to be in that environment where it's you've grown up in the environment, so it's like you can't get out of it unless you know about the resources, and a lot of places don't have certain type of resources that they are. So I've been around a lot of people that are underprivileged and just seen them just, begging to get help, but they just don't know where to get the help from. And what Pastor Austin's doing is really just helping the environment, giving back to the community, making it so that people can outreach to him and find those resources. He's just making a big change in the west side of Montgomery. So.
Yeah, and we hear all sorts of talk about how politically, what ought to be done. And the answer is not politics. The answer is people who are willing to love and serve each other. And that's the greatest thing. One of the great lessons of life I learned in seminary was someone said this, that if you've divided all of life into two categories, people and things, and the best way to live your life is to love people and use things. And all the problems occur when you begin to love things and use people. And so in Montgomery, we've got some problems. One of the things y'all did, part of the thing, was to help keep these kids safe, and safe in the sense of teaching them that even though some of the older kids are out on the street, gangs and stuff like that, were you able to do much? Well, first place, you all provided them a safe place and gave them a summer, but also you taught them about how to navigate some of those things. Did you get a chance to do a lot of that? I mean, drugs are such an issue. Truancy. They say the percentage of kids that are out of school. Now, y'all had a chance to teach these kids to be different. Did you sense much result in that?
Well, I think working with such young kids, it's a little bit different. And, it's always really hard to measure success in something like that. But for me, it was always telling the kids, especially the young guys, that you can do whatever you want. You're all smart, you're all talented, athletic. You can, whatever you decide that you want to do, I'm more than confident that you can achieve that. And when they responded to that, and you feel like they are starting to feel that way about themselves, I think that's when you start feeling like you're making an impact in that regard.
And the thing about you have to realize is that what the seeds you planted, you didn't see at the end of the summer the plant. But a year, 5 years, 10 years, what you sowed into those kids will be something that they'll never, never, never forget.
Yeah.
And if you had to just pick, what's the most valuable thing you were able to do in this summer job?
I think the most valuable thing that I was able to do was just to help the kids to the best of my ability. Just making sure that their mindset was at least changed to think more positive than negatively, just giving them that hope and giving them empathy from myself to just know that they won't always be in the predicament that they're in. So just like I said earlier, just telling them, like, or just me just being a mentor to them, seeing that I got this far and where I came from, and they're looking up to me, getting hope, saying that I want to be like you, or I want to go to college, or I want to go to school. So just reinforcing that and telling them that they can do whatever they put their mind to.
And you may never see the end results until a long way off in that. Yeah. Now, you guys could have gone anywhere and done anything and made a lot more money in a summer job. You could have done that, but you chose to go into work there. And are you glad you did it?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Do you ever plan to go back?
It's hard getting around first semester of grad school, and it's hard to know what next week looks like. Never mind May or June of next year. But at least for me, and I'm pretty sure for Hallie too, it's definitely something that we are trying to accomplish.
Now, this is amazing thing to me. Both of you are considering. I mean, you got a busy schedule.
Yeah.
You got a full plate, and you've got in front of you got offers, opportunities. But God might just lead you back into that. Did you? And let me just say something I heard, Jack, that you didn't just work over there on the weekdays and Saturdays, but on Sundays, didn't you go to some church over there and play maybe the drums or something?
Oh, yeah. I did do that. Pastor Charles, if you're listening, you're welcome. He was a great drummer, but he was a busy man. So, yeah, I stepped in, and that was a lot of fun. That's been a passion of mine for a really long time, and to be able to do that in the community as well, that was a blast.
Well, I guess what's amazing to me is that you didn't grow up in that kind of a church. Was it about like the church you grew up in? But it was a lot more animated. I've been to Ken Austin's church.
I think I might not use the word animated. I might use
Enthusiastic?
Emotive in the sense like it's a very emotional experience. I went to a number of different churches. I went to the original Fraser, then I was at Christ Church Anglican, and then we've been to St. James. So it's always been a journey for us to find a church home among the family. But never quite have I been to a service with, yes, energy, but just like passionate worship.
Yeah.
And the building is not one of the nicest buildings in town, is it?
I'm not going to say anything.
In terms of its physical structure, I mean, but hey,
it's a humble place.
It's a very humble place. And I went to and preached one time, and you had to sort of go around where part of the floor had fallen in, and I mean, but but most folks in Montgomery go to churches that have pristine pews and carpet and everything. But sometimes the will of God, is extremely active in a lot of places in Montgomery. And I just know y'all discovered that, and that makes for a huge difference. Did you get rich by working over there, taking that paycheck? I understand that you all weren't even as interested in receiving a paycheck as you were in giving it back.
Right.
And there are not many college kids that would have had a summer job this past summer that when they gave them the check, gave it back to them. And not to embarrass you all, but I understand that was, y'all wanted to see it invested in what you were doing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just want to thank you for being a part of this. The city of Montgomery is a great city. I've loved working with Ken Austin. We've done a thing with unity in the community. And for me, just to sit back in amazement at what he's doing. And then at the MAP Center, influencing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And just relying on the power of God to do that and what he has done. So is there any takeaway you'd like to just share before we conclude?
Nothing.
No.
Right. Well, I want to thank y'all for this time together and for what you
Yes.
have done and what you're doing. And can I just say that God has a great, great future for each of you. And Ken Austin is going to have to be duplicated. And I've got a hunch that here are two people who are going to be doing a lot of the things that Ken Austin stands for and has done. And I want to be more like him. Because I tell you, he is very much like Jesus in serving people. So thank you for what you did for those kids. Now, when do you expect to finish your master's degree, and will you go on beyond that?
So my program is a 2-year program, and after I finish my social work program, I want to get my license and open up my own therapy practice. So I want to go into more in depth with that, and then I'm now in the process, me and Pastor Ken are working on creating my own nonprofit as well, just giving back to the community and the underprivileged. So,
Right. And what do you plan to do education-wise?
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
I know I'm going to receive my master's in the summer or spring of 2026, and after that, God knows. And hopefully in the civil service in some capacity. But yeah, that's a bridge I'll cross when I get there.
Right. Well, both of you have a marvelous future in front of you, and I love what you said, that God's got a plan.
yes.
And God is in this, and you, as you said, God knows, and God does know. And when we follow his plan more than anything else, God has put you all off to a huge start in what you had to do this past summer. But that's a good foundation, and you can move forward in what God is planned to do. I want to thank you for joining us for this podcast. You've seen two go-getters. I mean, they are going to be on top of anything that they do, both in school and in society. But they're go-givers, and they've committed so much of their life to a part of Montgomery that really is not the privileged section, but they have gone there and in the name of Christ just ministered to and loved. And let me just say, sometimes it's not what you say, it's just the fact that you're there. And both of you have been there this summer, and that'll be an impressive thing to a lot of these young people. And I tell you, the youth of Montgomery will be different. And I think, isn't there a new dormitory potentially that next year and in the future there'll be more places for folks to live who are going to be working as counselors? And there are a lot of college students. And if you're a college student and you're looking for a place to just serve for the summer, or if you're just out of college, we should contact Ken Austin and the ministry there, and it would be a marvelous thing. Thank you so much, and I pray that God will help you be a go-getter who is a go-giver. And God bless you.